This video is on the Landsknecht Emporium Antonia Dussack, which is in the sabre category. There's some specs, up close looks, and some cut testing with this one from LE. Let's talk about first impressions on this one. So this is the Antonia Dussack from Landsknecht Emporium. It is essentially in the early sabre category and the early cutlass category. This was favored in the 16th, 17th century by German and Czech military because it's simple and it's highly effective. So let's look at really like, this is my favorite one in the batch for from Landsknecht Emporium. I'm also doing one of their farmers knives as well, their peasant utility knives. They actually cut straight through tatami mats, so the edges that they put on these are really great. Let's talk about this one though. It's in the saber category. It very much reminds me of a Hungarian saber. Obviously German, Hungarian, there's going to be a lot of crossover with just saber in general. But this is the sister sword to the Dorothea Dussack, which I also did a review on. I think sometime around last year I did one, and that's this one. What I like about this one more than the Dorothea is that it's very simple. It's a messer type hilt, so it has the nail protecting the outside of the center. So if you are in a guard position where the thrust is being presented, very standard with saber or any of that type of stuff, you're going to have that outside hand protection, so if there is a bind, that can't glance to a draw cut and stuff like that. The blade shape, this thing is fast. You're going to see in the cut testing, I minced the tatami mat with I think 6 or 7 cuts, all in one big attack by combination. This thing flies really well. It's not just that they do really great edges for LE, because this thing is plenty sharp. There's no need to get a sharpening surface at all on it, but this thing flies. So if you are looking at larger cuts off of the shoulder, if you are looking at different wrist cuts and different manipulations, you'll see in the little clip that I'm going to put in here where I'm kind of pulling this back. That's because I'm working the draw cuts. That's the thing with this design, is from this section here where, see right there, all the way to the tip, that's all sharp. So not only you're aiding in pulling out the thrust, but if you were to miss on a thrust or there's a target exposed, we can pull that in and go into that draw cut really on either side. So I wanted to show that too, because I don't see that a whole lot. Doesn't look super cool when you're doing that with the tatami mats. I guess I could hang up like a water jug and draw cut it, but it's a small cut that usually leads into a thrust anyway. So the handling on it, great, very fast, very agile. It makes you want to work a lot of these vertical cuts, larger vertical cuts, even punch cuts, where you're putting that right in the center, and then obviously thrust. So you have that mobility on there that's really nice. I like that it's a more simple hilt. I like the handle, that it is thicker. Grab it this way so you can see it. Thicker, and then tapers off to being thicker toward the pinky side. There's a little bit of notch here. This is all wood underneath and also leather. So they leave things looking a little bit more raw because they want them to actually be, as accurate as they can get them. So that way it's not just like a replica, it's an actual, what you would have most likely seen in that time period. What also helps with this, with the actual blade itself, for how it flies, is the amount of distal taper it has on it. So there's quite a bit of distal taper. The edge is plenty sharp, and that's also with the top edge as well. So that top edge is pretty long. You'll see that in Hungarian sabers as well. You'll see that also with like tearing type of motions where you're ripping. So you're actually turning that with the back of the blade. So I'm not just hitting with the flat, but I'm actually turning this and exposing the back edge, which can be pretty sneaky. Or if you are in a bind and you can bring this around, you get the draw cut, and that can lead into the thrust. So a lot of really unique things with this one. This one's a lot of fun to cut with. It does not come with a scabbard. So you can make a scabbard for it, or I'm sure you can get someone to make it for you, or if you have simple you know, basic leatherworking skill, you can definitely get that going. And this one was really easy to clean. I just cleaned it right after doing the cut testing. That reverse backhand cut, which you see me use a lot because it's just a really common cut, flies really well on this, and it leads right into the thrust. So a lot of good stuff here, even with these larger cuts that you know, you see in all types of sword fighting, whether that's to the thrust and then to the finish, or even if you're covering more surface area. I just really like it. It's a really great looking blade. Let's do some up close looks to this one, just to get some fine details of the edge and also on the handle. Overall length 36 and 3/16, blade length 30 and 3/8, weight is 1 pound, 12 ounces, has a fully functional sharp edge. The width is 40 millimeters with a thickness going from 6 millimeters to 2.4 millimeters with a peen pommel. Point of balance 7 1/8 inch. Grip length 5 3/8 inches. That's the full length to the peen. Steel quality 6150 high carbon steel, manufactured by Landsknecht Emporium. Here's a little bit of footage of some movement. You can see how nimble this thing is in different attack by combinations on cut. Also worked some isolation of just a downward angle 1. So you can see and actually hear how this thing whips through the air. And then lastly, I kind of mentioned this already in the first impressions, but here's a little bit of work into parry and into draw cut. So you see where I'm retracting that using the false edge and using that to pull that into a cut, and just showing the more technical aspect of using a saber rather than always just cuts off of the shoulder. Okay, now we do some up close looks. Let's take a look at the cut testing. I already said I hit this thing with one attack by combination. It was like 6 or 7 cuts. So let's see how the Antonia Dussack performs from LE. Thanks for joining me for this quick review on the Antonia Dussack from Landsknecht Emporium. This one is available at cultofathena.com, usually in small batches. They have a lot of really unique messers, which is something they specialize in. Look for the dagger that I'm also going to be reviewing for this month to pick this one up. Click the link in the description below this video to buy this one today and add to your collection. I'm your host, Tom, for Kult of Athena's YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, follow us on TikTok and on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next video.